Military protocol was clear. In active combat zones, immobile casualties were to be left behind. The logic was brutal but simple. One soldier couldn't save another and survive, especially not when that soldier was human, and the casualty was an 8-foot-tall alien warrior princess from a species that didn't even share compatible biology with humans. Every rational calculation said to leave her. Every strategic analysis said run. Every survival instinct said save yourself. But Brian Carter had never been particularly good at following orders when they felt wrong. The decision he made in that moment, to carry a paralyzed alien through an active war zone, would violate every military protocol, trigger an interstellar diplomatic crisis, and accidentally create something that would change the entire galaxy forever. But he didn't know any of that yet. All he knew was that a warrior was dying, and he wasn't the kind of man who walked away from that, even if she was the most dangerous woman in the known universe. Even if saving her meant doom for them both, especially then. The air tasted like death and burning metal. Sergeant Brian Carter picked his way through the wreckage of Forward Command Post 7, his boots crunching over spent plasma casings and fragments of destroyed combat mechs. Smoke hung thick enough to choke on. The silence was worse than the battle had been, the kind of quiet that meant either everyone was dead or everyone was hiding. His tactical display showed nothing but static. The Drachnid final assault had obliterated their communication systems along with most of his unit. The 23rd Marine Combat Division, reduced to one. Just him. Brian's enhanced hearing picked up movement ahead. He dropped into combat stance, rifle raised, finger on the trigger. Through the settling dust, he caught a glimpse of something that made his breath stop. A figure lay half-buried under debris. Silver hair spread out like metallic silk against scorched ground. Skin with an otherworldly lavender-gray hue that seemed to shimmer even covered in ash and blood. A Lazarian warrior. One of humanity's fiercest allies against the Drachnid swarm. And based on the ornate design of her armor, partially revealing as was their custom, but crafted from materials worth more than his annual salary, a high-ranking one. Brian approached cautiously, his augmented muscles tense. The warrior's eyes fluttered open as he neared. Storm-cloud gray eyes that held centuries of battle wisdom despite her appearing no older than 30 in human years. "Don't move," he said, kneeling beside her. "I'm Sergeant Brian Carter, Earth Marines. You're injured. Kira." Her voice carried a melodic accent even through obvious pain. "Commander Kira Valanis, 3rd Strike Force." She tried to shift and her face twisted. I cannot feel my legs." Brian's medical scanner confirmed what he already suspected. Spinal damage. Severe. In the middle of an active war zone with enemy forces regrouping and no extraction in sight, she was effectively dead. Military protocol was clear. Immobile casualties in retreat situations. Leave them. Save yourself. Live to fight another day. "You should go," Kira said, reading his expression with unsettling accuracy. "Others may have survived. Save yourself, human." Brian looked at her. Then at his tactical display showing multiple hostile signatures approaching from the north. The smart play was to run. The logical choice was survival. But something in him, something that had gotten him demoted twice and commended for valor 3 times, rebelled against the idea. "Like hell," he growled, already working to free her from the debris. "I didn't survive this shitshow just to leave someone behind." A ghost of a smile crossed her alien features. "Foolish human. You will die for this choice." "Haven't died yet." Brian managed to lift her, noting how her armor, despite its impractical appearance, actually helped stabilize her injuries. "And I don't plan to start today." Her weight was nothing to his augmented muscles, but what surprised him was the warmth of her body against his. The way her silver hair caught the light of distant fires, the warrior's pride in her eyes even as she accepted his help. "You have a name, foolish human?" "Brian. You can thank me later when we're not about to get shot." "If we survive," Kira said, her breath warm against his neck as he started moving. "I will owe you a life debt. Among my people, such debts are sacred. Let's worry about surviving first." But as Brian carried her through the smoke and ruin, something neither of them expected began to happen. Her presence against him felt right somehow, natural. Like puzzle pieces fitting together that shouldn't have matched at all. Neither of them knew it yet, but that feeling was the first sign. The first hint that human and Lazarian biology might be more compatible than anyone had ever imagined. And that compatibility would soon become very, very important. They moved through the battlefield like ghosts, Brian's combat training combining with Kira's tactical knowledge in ways that shouldn't have worked. Despite her paralysis, she proved invaluable. Her enhanced senses detecting threats his systems missed, her centuries of combat experience guiding their path. Left flank, she whispered. 3 drachnids, hunting pattern. Brian adjusted course without question. 30 seconds later, enemy soldiers passed through the exact position they would have been. He felt Kira's satisfaction ripple through the point of contact where she rested against him. Good instincts, she murmured. For a human. Great intel. For someone who can't walk. Her soft laugh sent an unexpected shiver through him. They'd been moving together for less than an hour, but already their synchronization felt natural. Wrong species, wrong situation, wrong everything, but somehow right. There. Kira pointed with her chin. That structure. I smell fuel cells. Military grade. Brian's enhanced vision confirmed it. A partially collapsed transport, Alliance markings still visible through the scorch marks. If it's intact, medical bay might still function, Kira finished. It is worth the risk. Something was happening between them, a connection forming that went beyond tactical cooperation. Every time their eyes met, every shared observation, every moment of synchronized movement, it was building something neither of them had words for. They approached the transport cautiously. Brian's tactical display lit up with warnings. Company? Kira asked, feeling his tension. Yeah, looks like we're about to have a party. Good. Her tone held a warrior's eagerness despite her condition. I would hate to die bored. The transport's emergency lighting cast blue shadows across Kira's silver hair as they entered. The medical bay beacon pulsed stronger with each step. A Lazarian healing chamber, fully intact, glowing with ancient power. By the first light, Kira breathed. That is not standard Alliance equipment. That is a sacred healing chamber. Our most advanced technology. Brian raised an eyebrow. Sacred as in really effective, or sacred as in might accidentally summon gods? Both. Her storm-gray eyes met his, something heavy in her gaze. And there is something you must understand before you activate it. These chambers do not simply heal. They create bonds. Permanent ones. The healing process requires a genetic resonance between patient and operator. Among my people, using such a chamber together is more binding than marriage. Outside, the sound of drachnid search parties grew closer. Brian's display showed maybe 3 minutes before they were discovered. Will it heal you? He asked directly. Yes, but Brian. Then the rest is just details. He was already moving toward the activation panel. I didn't carry you this far to stop because of some mystical alien marriage contract. You do not understand. The chamber will merge us. Our genetics will adapt to each other. You may change. I may change. And the bond, it is not metaphorical. We will share thoughts, emotions, sensations. Everything. Forever. Brian looked at her. Really looked at her. This warrior who'd fought beside her troops to the end. Who'd told him to leave her to save himself. Who'd guided him through enemy territory despite her own helplessness. Who met his eyes with courage even now, warning him of consequences when she could have stayed silent and simply accepted rescue. Kira, he said softly, I'm a Marine. We specialize in making terrible decisions that work out somehow. And I've got a good feeling about this one. Her expression softened in a way that made his heart do something complicated. You continue to surprise me, human. Haven't even started yet. He began activating the pod. Though I do have one question. Does this make me your space husband? The chamber activated before she could answer, enveloping them in brilliant light. And everything changed. The sensation was like fire and ice and electricity all at once, but somehow pleasant. Exhilarating. Brian felt Kira's essence flowing into him, her genetic code dancing with his, in an ancient ritual older than both their species. Through their forming connection, he felt her shock at his complete acceptance. No fear. No hesitation. Just absolute commitment to seeing this through. And she felt his fierce protectiveness, his attraction to her warrior spirit, his unwavering determination that they would both survive this. The chamber showed them each other's souls. Every memory, every emotion, every hidden truth laid bare between them. Brian saw her world, the beauty of Lazarian culture, the weight of her responsibilities as a commander and princess, the loneliness of always being strong, never being vulnerable. She saw the human drive to protect, the stubborn refusal to abandon others, the deep loneliness of being the last survivor, the fierce joy he took in defying odds. When the light faded, Brian found himself staring into Kira's eyes that now held flecks of his own brown amidst their stormy gray. His skin tingled where it touched hers, a new sensitivity that somehow felt perfect. "I can feel you," Kira whispered. "Your thoughts, your emotions, everything." "Yeah," Brian agreed, helping her stand. Her legs worked perfectly now, restored by the chamber's power. But that wasn't the important part. The important part was that he could sense her awareness like a second consciousness in his mind. "This is different. Good different." She tested her restored body, and he felt her relief and joy as if they were his own. Then her eyes widened. "Brian, I can feel your combat training, your muscle memory. It is becoming mine." He concentrated and gasped. "And I can feel your tactical knowledge. Centuries of warfare. It's all just there." An explosion rocked the transport. Their new bond snapped them into perfect synchronization. They moved as one, grabbing weapons, taking positions, their bodies knowing exactly where the other would be without conscious thought. "Ready?" Brian asked, feeling Kira's battle joy surge through their connection. She smiled, predatory, fierce, beautiful. "To fight beside my bondmate? Always." The Drachnids breached the medical bay in a coordinated assault. They encountered something they couldn't have prepared for. Two warriors moving as one. Human strength and technology merged perfectly with Lazarian grace and ancient combat wisdom. Brian's plasma rifle sang in harmony with Kira's energy blades. Every shot he fired, she was already moving to capitalize on. Every enemy she engaged, he was already covering her angles. Not because they communicated, because they didn't need to. Their bond made them a single fighting force in two bodies. The battle was over in minutes. 14 Drachnid soldiers eliminated without either Brian or Kira taking a single hit. They stood among the carnage, breathing hard, blood singing with victory. "That was..." Brian started. "Exhilarating," Kira finished. Through their bond, he felt her desire crash over him like a wave. Battle lust mixing with something deeper, more primal. Something that their new genetic compatibility made impossible to ignore. "We should," he began, but she was already moving toward him. "Yes, we should." Her silver hair floated around her like a celestial halo. "Our bond is not merely mental, Brian. The chamber made our bodies compatible. Perfectly compatible. Every sensation we experience is shared," he finished, pulling her close. Through their connection, he felt her need matching his own, amplified by their merged consciousness. What happened next was inevitable, necessary. Two beings who'd been made for each other in the most literal sense possible, finally coming together completely. Their bond magnified everything. Every touch was experienced twice, once through his senses, once through hers. Pleasure built and reflected between them like light between mirrors, creating feedback loops of sensation that threatened to overwhelm them both. Hours later, they lay together in a secure corner of the medical bay, their combat gear scattered around them. Brian traced patterns on Kira's lavender skin, marveling at how right this felt. "So," he said softly, "I guess we're really married now." Kira's mental touch was warm with affection and satisfaction. "By the laws of my people and the bonds of the chamber, yes. You are my mate. Forever." "Could do worse," Brian grinned. "Though my mother's going to have questions about why I didn't introduce her to my fiancé before the wedding." Her laugh was musical. "Among my people, warriors often bond quickly. But even for us, this is..." She paused, something shifting in her awareness. Brian, there is something else. Something important. More important than accidentally marrying an alien princess? The chamber accelerated more than just healing. Her hand moved to rest on her abdomen. Lazarian reproduction is rapid when conditions are optimal. And our bond created the most optimal conditions possible. Brian, I am carrying our child. The world stopped. I'm going to be a father, Brian said slowly, to a half-human, half-Lazarian baby. Through their bond, he felt Kira brace for his reaction, hoping for acceptance, prepared for rejection. He pulled her closer. That's amazing. Terrifying, but amazing. Her relief and joy flooded through their connection. You truly do not mind? Mind? Kira, we just proved that humans and Lazarians are compatible in ways nobody thought possible. Our child could change everything. Besides, he grinned. With your tactical genius and my stubborn refusal to give up, this kid's going to be unstoppable. But they had no idea how right he was, or what their child would be capable of. 2 days later, Brian and Kira fought their way toward an Alliance bunker, the only hope for extraction and medical care for their rapidly developing child. Their bond had grown stronger, but now there was a third presence at the edges of their shared consciousness. Impossibly, their unborn child was already aware, already reaching out through their connection. This shouldn't be possible, Brian muttered as they cleared another sector. The pregnancy's only 2 days old. Lazarian children develop quickly, Kira replied, her hand protective over her abdomen. But with our enhanced bond and your human adaptability, we are in uncharted territory. That's when it happened. As they approached an enemy patrol, their child's presence suddenly flared in their minds. Not with words, but with pure information. Tactical data about enemy positions, vulnerabilities in their armor, optimal attack patterns. Their baby was helping them fight. Did you just... Brian started. Feel that? Yes. Kira's eyes widened with wonder. Our child. Already so powerful. They followed their baby's guidance and eliminated the patrol with ease. But the implications were staggering. A being barely 3 days conceived was already interfacing with their bond, enhancing their abilities, protecting its parents. The bunker loomed ahead, but Brian's systems showed it was compromised. Security's offline. Someone's home and they're not friendly. Through their triple-bonded awareness, parent, and child, they sensed the trap waiting inside. But they also sensed something else. Their child wasn't afraid. It was curious. They breached the bunker to find it overrun with Drachnid forces who turned the Alliance stronghold into an ambush point. But the enemies hadn't accounted for what Brian and Kira had become, or what their child could do. As combat erupted, their baby's consciousness expanded, touching the bunker's systems. Both human and Lazarian technology responded to it like it was designed specifically for their hybrid offspring. Defense systems activated with impossible precision. Weapons coordinated in ways neither species had programmed. Their child was controlling the bunker itself. Impossible, Brian breathed, watching automated turrets operate with organic intelligence. The systems aren't compatible. Human and Lazarian technology can't interface like this. Unless, Kira said slowly, understanding dawning. You have a being who is equally both, who sees no difference between the two, who simply understands. Their unborn child had done in seconds what centuries of Alliance engineering had failed to achieve. It had merged human and Lazarian technology into perfect harmony. The battle became a symphony. Brian and Kira fought with superhuman coordination while their child orchestrated the bunker's defenses like a conductor with an orchestra. Enemies fell not to chaos, but to perfectly timed, beautifully executed tactical elimination. When the last Drachnid fell, they stood in awed silence. Our child, Kira whispered. It's not just a hybrid, it's an evolution. Through their bond, they felt their baby's satisfaction. And something else, a vision. A glimpse of what it was trying to show them. A future where human and Lazarian didn't just fight together, but truly merged. Where their technologies, their cultures, their very beings combined into something greater than either species alone. Their child wasn't just the offspring of two warriors. It was a bridge, a living demonstration of what was possible. And that changed everything. High-ranking officials from both the Alliance and Lazarian High Command arrived within hours, summoned by the impossible data streaming from the bunker. Admiral Thompson and Matriarch Alara filed in with their entourages, faces set in identical expressions of professional skepticism. "Sergeant Carter," Admiral Thompson began, "your combat logs show system integration that violates every principle of—" A massive explosion cut him off as Drachnid forces launched one final desperate assault. The bunker's alarms screamed, but before anyone could react, their child did. The officials watched in stunned silence as the bunker's defenses activated with supernatural precision. Human plasma turrets harmonized with Lazarian energy matrices, creating defensive patterns that shouldn't exist. The very laws of physics seemed negotiable as their hybrid technology worked in perfect unity. "Impossible," Matriarch Alara breathed. "Our systems are incompatible with human technology. The energy signatures should cancel each other out." "Perhaps," Kira said, her hand over her abdomen, "it's time we stopped focusing on what should be impossible." Through their bond, Brian and Kira opened their awareness, letting their child's presence become visible on the tactical displays. The officials gasped as they saw it, a consciousness barely days old, interfacing with both species' technology simultaneously, merging them into something new. "A hybrid," Admiral Thompson realized. "You're pregnant, with a human Lazarian child." "Natural conception," Brian added proudly. "Born from genuine connection, not laboratory experiments." The Drachnid assault intensified, but their child's control never wavered. In fact, the attacks seemed to strengthen its abilities. Human and Lazarian systems worked together in ways their designers had never imagined. But then something even more remarkable happened. Their child reached beyond the bunker, accessing the Drachnid battle network itself. Not to attack, but to communicate, to show the enemy what they were truly fighting against. The holographic displays lit up with a vision, human and Lazarian united not just in alliance, but in being. Two species merged into something that transcended their individual limitations. And at the center of it, a child who embodied both and belonged to neither. A living symbol of harmony in a galaxy torn by war. The Drachnid forces faltered, then impossibly began to withdraw. Not just from the bunker, but from the entire sector. "They're retreating," Admiral Thompson announced, his voice tight with shock. "All forces. Complete withdrawal." Through their bond, Brian and Kira felt their child's satisfaction. It had shown their enemies something they couldn't ignore, proof that unity was stronger than division. That cooperation transcended competition. "So," Brian turned to the officials, his arm around Kira, "still think human Lazarian cooperation is impossible?" Matriarch Alara stepped forward, her ancient eyes filled with wonder. "Your child, it's not just a hybrid. It's a bridge, a demonstration that our species can truly merge, creating something greater than either alone. And a warning to our enemies," Admiral Thompson added, "that humanity and Lazarians together are unstoppable." 3 months later, Brian stood in the Human Lazarian Unity Medical Center, a facility that existed only because their child had proven such cooperation possible. Through gleaming halls where both species' technology worked in perfect harmony, he made his way to Kira. She reclined on a bed designed for both their physiologies. Her silver hair fanned out around her, skin glowing with an inner light that came from carrying a child who was rewriting the rules of biology itself. "You look beautiful," Brian said, feeling her pleasure ripple through their bond. "Flatterer. Though I doubt I'll maintain this glow once labor begins." Through their connection, they felt their son's presence. Stronger now, more defined. He'd been monitoring his own delivery for the past week, ensuring optimal conditions with the same precision he'd used to defend the bunker. "Our child is certainly confident," Brian observed. "He takes after both of us." The labor began with a surge through their triple bond. Brian felt everything Kira felt, their connection transmitting both pain and triumph as they worked together to bring their son into existence. The medical staff, both human and Lazarian, watched in wonder as their presence seemed to guide its own birth. Finally, with a cry that resonated through both physical and digital space, Ares Carter entered the world. His skin held a subtle lavender tint that shifted in the light. His hair showed hints of brown among silver strands. His eyes, when they opened, were a stunning mixture of storm gray and earth brown. Perfect, beautiful, impossible. He's already interfacing with the medical systems. A Lazarian healer noted with awe, but gently, learning rather than controlling. Because he doesn't need to fight, Kira said softly. Thanks to what we proved was possible, both our peoples are finally working together. It was true. In the 3 months since their stand in the bunker, everything had changed. The Alliance and Lazarian High Command had formed unprecedented partnerships. The Drachnids had opened diplomatic channels. And at the center of it all, a single child who demonstrated that unity was stronger than any weapon. Brian looked at his son, feeling the future unfold through their bond. A future where humans and Lazarians achieved things neither species could manage alone. Where their child would grow to be not just a warrior or a diplomat, but a living bridge between worlds. You know, Brian said, sitting beside his wife and child, when I found you on that battlefield, I never imagined we'd end up here. Kira's mental touch was warm with love. The great human warrior didn't plan on saving a paralyzed alien princess, falling in love, and fathering the galaxy's first natural hybrid? Well, when you put it that way. He leaned in to kiss her, their bond singing with shared joy as their son's consciousness wrapped around them both. A family united in ways no one had ever dreamed possible. And a future that had just begun.